Hello there, folks.
Hi there.
It's another episode of Würfel Cast, episode 37. Topic of the day, top 10 economic games. So,
Yes.
so Kyle, how do you feel about that?
I feel very excited
Okay. Why so?
because I apparently really like economic games because I had a big list of ones that I like and I had to throw lots of them away.
Okay. Are we going to argue about is it economic or not? Because
We might.
this topic is a bit like controversial, in a sense of what is an economic game.
Yeah, I
Because
think that was when I had proposed it, I thought that it would be a very easy thing to define. But when I went to make my list, I found it was less easy to define.
yeah, because in a sense every board game is economic because you do something about resources and money and trading. But yeah, we're gonna get back to that topic of the day. But first, let's get to our recent plays, and for that, the almighty screen share will help us out to get to Board Game Geek. And now, Kyle, why don't you start? Tell me about what you have played.
All right. Well, I'm going to tell you about a game that I have been playing a lot lately. And it's a game that is really new. In fact, it's not quite out yet. I've been playing it on an online version only, which
Is
is
it
kind of a
economic?
cheat. Well, yes, it is economic because you're managing a very important resource, which is called magic. And
Mm.
that game is called Summoner Wars Second Edition.
Oh my god.
And so I know, but it's new and I've been playing it a lot, so it counts. And it is a little bit different than regular Summoner Wars. So
Sure.
the the core game is not different at all. You're moving around a board that looks very similar to the old Summoner Wars board, and you're trying to kill the opponent's summoner, which is exactly what you were doing before. It has six factions currently. There are something like 63 planned, and the six that we have aren't really new. Um, they're friends that we've seen in some form or other in the older game. We've got the Vanguards, who were pretty much the same, the Fallen Kingdom, who are pretty much the same. We've got the Cave Goblins, who are pretty much the same. The what were called the Benders are now called the Breakers. They're pretty much the same. And then we have the two new ones, which are the Savannah Elves, which are exactly the same thing as the Jungle Elves, except the animals live on the savannah and they didn't live in the jungle. And the Polar Dwarves, who are a close copy of the second Tundra Orcs deck. So that's what it is. There's not really any changes to the rules that are major that would be exciting unless you knew the game. There are a few, though. For example, the order in which you do some things has been changed. The life values of all the units has been increased a lot, so things stick around longer. Things tend to cost a bit less, and the odds have been changed so that ranged hits a little bit less than up close melee attacks. And also, you don't use cards in a pool, in a pile for magic. Um, you move a tracker along a thing. And that actually is something that changes a little bit of a couple of the factions. And I'm not sure I'm a fan of that piece, but that's okay. But really, the game is the same. The artwork is different. Um, and I don't know what else to say other than I really like it. I don't like it as much as regular Summoner Wars, and probably that is because there are only 6 decks to play with right now. And 2 of them have been around online for a couple of months now, so there's really only 4 new ones to play. Once the game takes off and we get more factions, I might change my opinion. I mean, it might go up above base Summoner Wars. I'm not sure because they're really the same game. It's just one has a couple of, is a little bit older, and a couple of the older factions show their age a little bit and aren't quite as much fun to play, whereas this new one has things that have been modernized and refreshed. And I'm still unlearning some bad habits from old Summoner Wars. That's okay. But hey, it's a lot of fun. And if it comes out soon, you should check it out. You can look at it online currently. I believe it's free too. I'm not sure. I know that they were saying something like there would be 2 free factions every month that you could play if you didn't want to pay for it. Anyway, I'm excited to have. I think I will really love the game in about a year when there are about, I don't know, 12 different decks. I think is probably about what we need. But there you go.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's right.
Hey, I'm not going to put Summoner Wars on the
Yeah.
economics. I'm not going to put it on the economics list. So
I was afraid because you said Magic is okay. Magic is currency. Yeah. Yeah. Indeed. In some.
and the whole game is about managing where the cards are. So
managing resources is not same as economic. That's where I went. Okay, but yeah, we're gonna see. All right, so yeah, so Kyle, I want to sue you. That's the name of the game I want to show you. But no, I just heard.
You played that?
Yes.
I mean, Tawantin Suyu is not your type of game at all. But
yeah. The real name is Tawantin Suyu, yes. But the first time I heard somebody, it was, I think it was in Dice Tower, and Tom Vassell said it, and I heard I want to sue you. I was like, what? It's an like what, a court game or what is it? Like, no, it's Tawantin Suyu. So yeah, it's not the game I would usually play or like or enjoy or whatever. It's not the game. No, but no, really. First of all,
is it an economic game?
In a sense, but it's not. No. Resource management games are not economic games. These are resource management games. But this one is, I would say, a worker placement game. First of all, disclaimer: I got this one as a review copy from Board and Dice. And I was interested in this one because I'm not into T games. I look at them, I don't want to play them. But this one was designed by David Turczi, and I do like his approach to designs. So David Turczi made, for example, Anachrony, which I do really like. So, but with Tawantin Suyu is, I would say it's a worker placement game, but in some way. But you place those meeples on the different spots on the board, and you can do an action that surrounds that meeple. You can do one action, but if you get to certain conditions where you place the meeple that matches the spot, the color of the spot, then you get an extra action. So you can choose 2 actions out of all of these surrounding it. Or if you meet some other conditions, you can do all 3 actions. And what you want to do, you want to manipulate all those different meeples. Those meeples, basically like workers, they have different abilities as well. And you want to build, it's not here, but you want to build the different buildings which give you bonuses. You want to get the most points eventually. And you can do the kind of a warfare, which is extremely abstract. Basically, you are claiming territories, which is basically putting tokens in certain spaces, which require certain resources. And as you collect those resources from the board, you spend them in order to get points, and then you get the totems, and then you can spend the totems on another board, which gives you some bonus resources and points. Wow. It's all about that. And there's the central kind of like a mechanism, central piece here where you can move around with your priest, and it lets you do some stuff. Like it lets you, for example, spend corn in order to get wealth, which is basically points, spend totems, whatever. But in some ways, you also can play cards which give you bonuses, and they are connected to the totems. So If you have a totem of particular kind of a symbol or whatever, you get something extra. So as you can see, it's different cogs just kind of rotating themselves. You can see here are the buildings. There are tapestries as well. Tapestries are basically, I don't know what they are, like carpets. If you connect two sides of the same stuff, then you get it as a bonus when you activate it. And you can see you can do some abilities. Abilities are cool. So these are basically like buildings. They give you some abilities that you can use. This game is, I would say, first of all, like there's the inner circle, then the second one and third one, and you need to build the stairs so you can go downstairs, and there are some cool actions around there. But you can go there before that, but the cost of doing the outer actions is much more than the upper actions here. Plus, it depends on where your priest is looking at, like the conus-like shape, and that's the thing. So I want to tell you, I did enjoy my game because after the game, and even several days after the game, I started thinking about the game, like, how should I do this one better or that one better, and that's all interesting. But the amount of things kind of in an intersection with each other, the amount of small intricacies and rules, like for example, to build here, and if your priest is here, you don't have to pay. To build here, you have to pay 1. To pay here, you have to pay like 5. Okay, if your priest is on the next conus-like shape, and you are here, you want to build here, or like put your meeple down here to collect resources, you have to pay 3 corn instead. Like there is no consistency of what or how you're gonna pay. And if you build the stairs all the way down, then it subtracts 4. But if you want to build downstairs, you have to spend 5 minus 4. It's 1. Why they subtract the 4, not all 5? If you build all the way downstairs, all those small things and intricacies. This game suffers from too much of small things going on, and that can hurt the game because the people who play it for the first time, they go, "Why? Why would you do such a thing?" It's not. It should be streamlined. It should be streamlined even more. I understand that David Turchi wants to make a complex game, but it's a complex game for the sake of being complex, because what the game gives. So there's a fun factor, or whatever factor it is for you, where you play the game, and the amount of time you give to learn the game, to process the game in your head, to play the game, versus what you get back from it, it's not balanced. It might be balanced in my 5th game, let's say, okay, but it should be there from the first game. It should get me from the first game. It kind of got me, but I have some problems. Too much going on. Too much in this game.
See, I really like this game, but I really do not like teaching this game.
I'll tell you, it's too much.
It is. You start explaining the rules, and you sort of see people's eyes go, and it has a very handy 8.5 by 11 player aid with really small type to help you remember all of the rules. It is definitely one that, let's just say this is for people who want to play it a few times, is where this one will definitely reach its max value.
Yeah.
But it is definitely has a lot of small rules to remember. That's kind of how I felt about the game. Lots of small rules. Now, lots of them are printed on the board, and there's lots of ways to help you remember them, but you still have to do a lot of the remembering, and it's also a little bit hard to find the worker placement spots.
Yes, because it's busy. It's so much. It's too many things, and you have to remember such. Like each time I wanted to place a meeple, I did my economy. Like I had to bring out calculator and see if if I place this meeple here and the priest is there, how much corn do I pay? It's it's painful.
Well, that's not
Yeah,
that bad, but it's
but
just,
yeah, you get me.
for example, I wish the cones, like those cones of the priest, I wish there had been lines.
Yes,
Right?
yes,
It's easy to figure it out, but it would have been easier with a line.
yes, yes.
Things
That's
like
true.
that.
Yeah, because we're like,
Mm.
what is the like a cone? Like, is it that way? Oh, wait. What like is the territory of that side? But yeah, it's
I mean,
it
it's
is a
obvious, but it could be more obvious.
yeah,
And
it's a good
things like
game.
that.
It's a good game. It's the cover is beautiful. Oh, this is the Russian version I see here. The cover is beautiful. The board is. If you look at all these different like the icons, but the outer board. If you look at all these different small things going on there, it's also beautiful. It's colorful. Uh, the production is fine. It's nice with some
Yeah.
pieces. Uh, but it's not a striking game. It's your usual kind of a. It's not trading in Mediterranean game, but it looks like that. Your usual medieval or trading whatever game. It's not striking. I don't know who. It's probably for people who want to have that particular one heavy Euro game and want to invest in that and search for strategies and outsmart each other in different maple placement. This is for the gamers who want to invest a lot in this game.
I would say it is my favorite in that series. Maybe Teotihuacan. I don't know. Those two are the anyway. But I think the fact that it is in that series is important because all the rest of those games in that series have sort of the same issue. Lots of small rules, lots of mechanisms to
I
balance and
see.
juggle.
Yeah.
And so if you are playing this game, you probably should only do so if you like the other games in that series. And in that case, you might really like. I mean, some people really like this one, some people don't. That's fine. But it's definitely it fits into the series that it's a part of, and it doesn't apologize for that.
Yeah. Maybe it should. Okay. All right. So that was recent plays. Let's get to another topic, which is Cult of the Old. And here we're going to talk about Kyle and his ambitions. No, I'm kidding. We're
My
only
what?
getting younger. No,
Oh,
nothing.
okay. Um, so my pick this week is a game that I actually played about 6 months ago. I played it lots before that too, but this is an older
Summer Wars.
game that kind
Oh,
of got, well, I talked about that one once in this section already. So um,
good.
the game is, there's a reprint and there's an older version, but it is called Council of Four.
Mm-hmm.
I think it came out in 2015 originally. And I still have the original. I did not get the new edition because I think I like the original one better. It had a few things that the newer one doesn't have. You're looking at the newer one here,
Yeah.
but that's okay. I mean, the newer one works just fine as well, and it's probably what's available. But it's an interesting little game of getting bonuses. That's what you're doing. You try and build your well, it was a house in the older game. It looks like it's a person in the newer one in a city. And when you
Hmm.
do that, you activate that city's bonus. And then you activate the bonus of each connected city in which you've built something. And so you're trying to kind of start from an area and build out to get as many bonuses each turn as possible. You are also trying to get your pieces into all the cities of one color or all the cities of one stripe of the board. There's a lot of ways to get points like by doing that. Pretty much what you're doing is you've got a hand of cards, and those cards are going to help you to place the cities. And you're going to look, and each city has a different council of 4 members. See if you figure out how that came out. And based upon the colors of those 4 members, that's going to dictate the cost that you have to pay to put the things in the city. And so another thing you can do is you can alter that council And in the old one, there were these little balconies, and you would take a meeple and you would put it on, and then you'd push somebody off the edge. There's that's the old one. And there's a bunch of tracks you're trying to. Well, there's a track you're trying to move up, but it's an old game, and it wasn't a particularly amazing looking old game, especially if you found the old cover. It pretty much shouted out this game's going to be boring. The new one is definitely better in that regard, but that's the new cover. I really liked this game back in the day, and it holds up really well. It's from a set of designers that I've just really always liked anyway, and I think it is one that definitely needs to be played still. It's very satisfying. There you go. It's just a very satisfying game because you can do a lot of things and feel like you're doing a lot, even though you're just really playing a few cards and moving. There you see the balconies too. Yeah, you feel like you're doing a lot, and it's always fun to get your own combo engine going, and I really like it.
Yeah, it's a game about pushing people off the balcony.
It is
stuff like that. No, I haven't heard about this one. I looked at this one, but I realized it's a little bit too abstract. Like for the looks of it, it looked like the newer what's it called, Cool Mini or Not version. Is it?
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's the new one.
Looks really cool, but when I look at the mechanics, it felt not so cool anymore. So yeah, it feels like it's a kind of an abstract management of things without any particular theme going on there. But yeah, maybe it's just
the theme is just lightly draped on. It's a sprinkle of theme
on top of the cupcake. Yeah, all right, I got it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my choice for Cult of the Old is the game that you know. I think you've played it as well, but I wanted to highlight this one because each time I think about this game, it sounds so cool. I played it last year as well, like for the first time in a very long time, and it was enjoyable. But I could see even more problems with the game. But still enjoyable. It's Goblins Incorporated. And Goblins Incorporated is... you have played this one? Have you? No?
Yes, I have. I did not like it at all.
Okay. Okay, I see. Yeah, it's because it's a game of chaos. It's a game of partnerships as well. So what you're doing, you are in teams of 2 players. I don't remember how many players it plays. I think it's up to 4, but basically you should play 4 players. And then you are each on your own. So you want to become a new head of whatever the Goblins Incorporation, But you have secret objectives of your own, like a scoring objectives that you want to do. And they may vary from you want to have this thing destroyed or this thing defended on your robot. And you are building up those robots. And you are doing that in a partnership with other players. And you always switch teammates as well. And this is a cool part where you are building the stuff, and you build half of a robot, and then your partner builds half of the robot, and then one of you is the pilot, and the other one is like an engineer or whatever. I don't remember exactly what they were roles, but basically one of them is choosing one of the 3 available cards, which give you kind of a bonus action, something like that, something extra. And the other one is piloting, basically rotating the robot in a particular way. You cannot really communicate with each other, but you have to kind of understand both of your needs. And it's extremely chaotic because at some point you do not. And then I turned the robot in a wrong way, and you oh my God, what did you do now? We're gonna be lost in this madness of shooting each other. And yeah, you're putting the different engines and different tiles and defenses and the weapons on your robot, so you can shoot other player robots. So it's a team-based game. Yeah, it's about just building and destroying, and I did like that. It has problems, and I would love to see a new edition of this game, like revised, maybe a little more strategic, because I like this chaos. This chaos works for me. It might not work for you or a few other people, but it works for some people. I did
Sure.
enjoy my time with this game a long time ago, at least. And yeah, I just played again, and I can see the fun of it.
Okay.
Just building and destroying. It's sometimes you need chaos in your life, and that's Goblins
Well,
Incorporated.
sometimes you need it in an old world, but yeah, I was not a huge fan of this one. I played it when it first came out, and I just the people nobody, none of us enjoyed it. And I tried it again. It just was not for me, and so I'm not a fan of Goblins Incorporated, but I'm glad that you can see some fun in it.
Yeah, why not? So it's not for everyone, of course. It's
Well, that's all right.
all right. So we're gonna go to the next topic, which is funky funky components. Yeah, I'm still
Okay.
searching. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah,
Kyle.
keep looking. Uh, so the game I'm going to talk about today is a classic. That doesn't mean it's a great game. In fact, as a game, it's not that great. But the components of it are really fun, and that game is 13 Dead End Drive.
13.
13, and there you go.
Okay.
And so you kind of have to open it up so you can see the full board. But in this game, and I don't even remember much about playing it, but you want, like, there's a bunch of heirs and you want to be the last person alive. And so what you're doing is you're trying to move other people into these various traps around the board. And there's all these different things, like you can move somebody, if you see there in the corner on the right side, there's this bookcase and you can move somebody up there and then activate it, and the ladder falls down and the person dies. Or you can, have somebody sucked into the fireplace, or there's just all these different ways to kill people around the board. And there are various mechanical processes in the game that are just really quite fun. In fact, setting the people up on the playset and and triggering the whatever death thing on it was more fun than the actual game itself, which is kind of shows its age a little bit. But I found just these traps to be, as a child, I mean, that's when I had the game, to be really very fun. I love to drop the chandelier on people. It's definitely, I don't know that I would enjoy the game at all if I played it today, but
Okay.
I do remember the components.
Yeah. I've seen this one in the episode of Board James. It's one of the YouTubers who makes fun of the old games. They usually do that about the video games, like Nintendo, Super Nintendo games, etc. But they also had a kind of a recurring character of Board James, and he was the one playing the old board games, like really old, like this one and from the 80s, etc. And one of the episodes was about this game, and it was super fun to kind of explore this game. But he does it in a sketchy type thing, like not particularly reviewing the game or anything like that, but more like an entertainment show. So yeah, this one sounds cool. I'd like to try this one out, just for the sake of the fun of it, Bloody
it's definitely one
version
to it's definitely one to pick up on at a thrift shop or somewhere for not very much money, because the game itself isn't very good. But I think just the novelty of the experience is perhaps worth it.
Yeah. All right. So that was the whole board is a funky component.
Yes.
For me, the funky component, and it I don't think it's irregular. I think it's in quite a few games, most like, but I haven't seen it much. I've seen it rarely, and I don't know why. Maybe it's expensive or hard to do, but the publishers, they don't use acrylic components that much, or acrylic standees. And one of the games that I could think of regarding the acrylic standees is Dare to Love. Not a good game particularly. It's, you know, it is how it is. But those standees, these are acrylic standees, so, and they have the images of the characters printed on them. And as I remember, you can correct me if somebody has played as well. I think there is a front of the character and the back of the character printed, so it's like kind of a 2D, 3D thing, and which is cool. And it just adds to the immersion because nowadays we have miniatures, we have screen printed meeples, etc., of different shapes, but not that many acrylic thing going on there. And I feel like this one is a nice alternative to the miniatures because the meeples make the game board game-ish. The miniatures, if they are unpainted, they are not as lively. But I think the acrylic standees, which have the images of the characters in color, in all its beauty, I think it's adds to the immersion. So yeah, my component is the acrylic stands, let's say.
Well, the acrylic standees, they look interesting. I've not played the game. I think I saw your review of it or something. I don't know.
You shouldn't play the game.
And it didn't look like it was all that interesting. So I decided to pass on it. But they are striking.
Yeah. The game is overwhelmingly unbalanced. Let's say.
Okay.
If you're playing the baddie, then just say I win, and then you will win anyway.
Well, there you go.
But yeah, it was a nice idea. Yeah. All right, so we are away from the funky components, and then we're gonna get to our topic of the day, which is top 10 economic games.
All right.
And so, as we talked about that in the beginning of the episode, it's not that easy to define what is an economic game. And for me, I would say that first of all, when I looked at this, like, what about the theme? Is the theme an economic theme of doing something to get wealthy? But on the other hand, for example, not all the games where you get wealthy are economic. Like, for example, we talked about Merchants and Marauders in the last list. And Merchants and Marauders is about getting treasure, money, into your treasure chest. But it's not an economic game, in my opinion. Though you do trades and things, but it just doesn't feel economic. It feels like
that one actually kind of felt like it fit, but
yeah, but it feels more like an adventure for me, at least. So I cannot really say that it's an economic game. There are many other parts going on. So for me, economic games are the ones that have a kind of a strict center of managing some kind of economy. There should be money involved or something like any kind of a currency, let's say. And the theme, and the last one, I would say, I just went with the feel. Does it feel economic for me? If yes, I'll put it on the list because it's so hard to. There's one particular game that I excluded from my list, though it should be on this list as economic game, but I felt like it's not economic game for me. It's also like an adventure, a sprawling game, maybe a forex game or whatever. So maybe it's on the list. So I'm not going to spoil it right now.
Yeah, well, we'll see. So for me, I mean, I kind of started by going to Board Game Geek and looking at the economic games, but I saw lots of games on there that I would not consider economic at all. Yes. And so then I just kind of made a list from there of the games that I felt were economic. The way that they define it says that, it's could be synonymous with resource management, encouraging spending, that kind of thing. I don't know. I just kind of went with my own sort of Potter Stewart type of I know it when I see it uh,
Yeah.
yeah, type of definition. I don't know that many of my things will, I don't know that you'll disagree with mine. You might, of course,
I
and you
might.
probably will,
Yes,
but
I
but
will.
I don't know if you will. I actually think these are fairly solid economic games.
Yeah, one thing is that one of the definitions for me for an economic game is that you can take a loan. It's-
No.
yeah, if you can take a
Uh,
loan, then it's an economic game, kind of.
I actually think I only have one game on here that has loans. So, but we'll see.
All right. So let's get to our number 10. Right, Kyle, what's
All
your number 10?
right. All right. Our number 10 is a game that you probably will not have on your list, I suspect. But I don't think you'll argue that it is economic. This is about managing an economy as you move ships through the Panama Canal in Panamax.
Yeah,
And this game is really very economic, right? You're managing
it
two
is.
sets
It
of
is.
money, your own and the company's money, and you're trying to use your money wisely so that you're trying not to use your own money, but instead use someone else's and move these ships through the canal. You're buying shares in other people's companies. It's basically your classic economic game themed around the Panama Canal. I really enjoy it. In fact, I'd really like to get it out again. It's been a while since I played it. But I just remember it's a very nice, kind of a light economic game. I mean, it's much lighter than some of these very heavy ones that you see. And I found it very fascinating. Some of this, you're not just managing the economy, you're also trying to move efficiently or inefficiently so that you can benefit from what other people are doing. A very interesting game, my number 10, Panamax.
Okay, yeah. That one I could consider definitely an economic game.
I don't know what you're doing if you don't consider this one economic.
Yeah. I played this one. It's not a bad game. Not my taste completely because it's a lot of that kind of a dry management going on, and
I mean,
but we
it's an
did
economic game.
yeah, we did an episode. Maybe I would like it more nowadays. We did an episode on this game on Board Game Blender during the kind of economic theme, whatever it was, the
Mhm.
economic theme in the Board Game Blender. So one of the biggest issues of this game is the rule book. Uh, I proclaim it maybe worst, maybe one of I don't know, maybe it's the worst rule book I have ever read.
Oh, it's
It's
not that bad. I mean, it's bad,
oh,
but
it's
there are many worse rule books.
uh, probably maybe that you have read, but in my
Maybe.
yeah. If I look at my games, it might be the worst ever rulebook I have read. It was just so bad, I couldn't understand a thing. So
It is
yeah,
a rough read. All
but an economic game. All right, so my number 10 is a game about flowers and buying and selling those flowers, and it's an economic game. It's Tulip Bubble. So I wanted to
Okay.
highlight this game. I put it on my 10 because I did enjoy my game, but this game doesn't feel like it has a ton of replayability because you're doing basically same and same and same. But this game is about the era where there was like a tulip economic bubble in the Netherlands, where the tulips could cost more than houses, etc. There was like special different tulips that they were growing, etc. It was just like, and uh, it collapsed eventually, and that's where you're going. So you're playing until everything collapses. Whoever has still survived or the most money wins, and you're buying and selling those different tulips to customers. It's just a nice different theme and different feel to an economic game, in my opinion. So
Yeah, I don't know if I've played this one or not. There's another one with the same theme and a very similar name, and I think that's the one I played, which was, I guess, Tulip Mania. But yeah, okay. I don't know that I have a lot to say about this one.
Yeah. But yeah, you can try it out if you are able to, and then it's from My Ideas Game Designs that they do interesting designs usually.
Right. Okay.
All right, let's go to number 9. All right, what's your number 9?
All right, my number 9 was a game. When I discovered this game, I felt like something magical had happened. I don't know how well the game holds up, and I haven't played it in a number of years, but I remember this economic game being really exciting, and it had this very interesting supply and demand mechanism in its market. It's been done. Oh, sorry, the game is Power Grid. It's definitely a classic. And, some of its pieces have been done better in other games. But I remember it's very exciting. What you're, you're buying power plants, and then you're trying to buy the resources. And based on the turn order, you might, be able to buy the market out so that people later in the turn order have to pay a lot more to manage their plants. You're trying to make connections, and there's costs to those connections. And you're trying to be as efficient as possible and decide when you want to upgrade something or not. And everything is really exciting. And then the game kind of comes to a screeching halt, and the end game is very boring, right? It's just whoever makes the most money on the last turn. But I really did enjoy this game a lot. I probably would still enjoy it with the right people. But I remember the economic factors of the game being really very interesting and fascinating, especially earlier on in my board game journey.
All right. Yeah, I've not
It
played
also
this
has
one.
terrible paper money.
Yeah, I have not played this one. I never had an urge to play this one, so I skipped that one at some point because too much economy calculating is just not for me. I want to have some adventure in my game, and it definitely doesn't.
You won't
no
find it
adventure.
here.
Yeah, no adventure in Power Grid.
And you can tell that from the box, right? It kind of tells you it's not going to be an adventure.
Treatment fees, yeah.
Well,
right.
Anyway.
My number 9 is a game you might not agree on because it goes into a list of a kind of a different genre, but for me it is an economic game because it comes from the show that is economic, first of all, and that's World Wars. And I got I got a reason to put it on this list, but no, really, World Wars is an auction bidding game, indeed, but everything revolves around the money. You want to, as a master, you want to get most money, so others bid a lot, and then you bid your own money. So you're basically buying those different vaults so you can get items from them. So you can get points, yes, but you constantly sell these items. So you sell all the garbage you don't want to. It's a lot of economy involved in this game. And there's a loan shark. You go to the loan shark and you have to loan money, and then you get negative points because of that. It has other elements going on, but definitely an economic game, in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to start referring to this as your Summoner Wars at this point. But okay.
It just fits this list.
Very well.
I mean, I do like this game. Yeah. But do you agree that this is an economic game?
No. I think it's a game that involves money, but okay.
It's all about buying and selling. So, all right, let's go to number 8.
All right, my number 8 is a game that I probably like more than its position on the list, but the economic aspect of it is strong, although it's sort of economic is a very important piece of the game, although the game's more about building a civilization, and that game is Through the Ages. And so a big part of the game is managing this food economy and resource economy. And as you grow a little faster, you've got to pay more and you've got to invest more in keeping things going. And as you build farther, you're going to have to start wasting more resources. And so you've got to upgrade to better and better production just to keep things going. And so the civilization theme is definitely, well, stronger, but there's definitely a hard economic core to this game. And so this one might be my perhaps my cheating poll on the list, but there definitely is an economy in this game, and that's my number 8.
That's where I said that every game can be described as an economic game. This is a complete resource management civilization game. Like, economy is part of civilization. I can see that, but it's not an economic game. Like,
and this game simulates that portion of civilization very well.
Not an economic game, though it says here it's no. Totally disagree. So my World Wars is more economic than this one. All right, all right, let's get to my number 8, and it's a game where this is an economic game because you need to get to a certain amount of money to win the game because you're buying and selling, and that's economy. And I'm talking about Asante.
Okay.
Yeah, Asante is an economic game in my opinion. There are other things going on, but everything goes around you getting, I think, 60 money, something like that. You need to get...
I don't remember, but yeah.
It's we want to get to a certain amount of money, so basically, and then you win. So, and by getting it, these are like gold nuggets, basically money. Oh, this is a Korean version or whatever it is, the Asian version, but it doesn't matter. It has cool custom-made tokens things, but in this game, as you can see here, you trade the different resources. You buy those resources and you want to sell those resources later on. And then you can play cards as well. You draft the cards, you play them out. Some of them are abilities, and you just want to get to a threshold of certain amount. I think it's 60 money, and then you win the game. Everything evolves around buying and selling in a smart way. So, and using the abilities of the cards, of course, but they help you buy and sell better. So, and hinder your opponent's chances. That's what they do as well. Like, take that moments. Yeah, right. But it's an economic game in my opinion.
Okay. It works, right? I'm not going to argue. It's just been a long time since I played it, so I don't remember that well.
Okay. Let's go to number 7.
Okay. My number 7 is an economic game that I don't think involves any money. I think the money is just the points, but this game is all about creating goods so that you can sell them on a market. And in this game, those goods are smartphones because the game is Smartphone Inc.
Okay, I can see that. That's the theme.
It's very much an economic. I mean, the theme is economic, and the mechanisms are right. You're building this weird tablet thing. That's sort of just the means to the end. But it's all about setting your price so that you can get into the turn order at the right point and trying to sell your things to certain markets that you have access to. And depending on what your smartphones have, people may or may not want to buy them. And so you'll have more access if you have better features, or you could have, great features, but if your phone's too expensive, other people can undercut you. It's very much an economic market type game. It's just that there's no resource of coins. But I don't think that matters. And I don't think you can take a loan, but it definitely is an economic simulation game, more probably than anything else.
Yeah. I haven't played this one yet, but I totally agree. I mean, like I've looked at this one, look at the rules as well. It's the theme itself is already you are expanding your market, which is basically growing your company's economy. So yeah, that's a good choice. But I haven't played this one, so I couldn't put it on my list.
Okay.
Yet.
Well, you should. It's
I
good.
I tried, but it just didn't fit.
Very well.
All right, so another stretch of
that
this
one wasn't a stretch.
No. I mean, like through the ages. Oh my god! But
Through the ages was a bit of a stretch.
You can argue on my next pick because regarding my next pick because you might say it's not an economic game, and you might be right. but I feel like it is for me, at least, and that's Sheriff of Nottingham. And the central mechanism in that is bluffing and that not deduction, but basically it's a bluffing game. But it all revolves around the money. You're getting goods in and out. You are bribing the sheriff himself and use a lot of money. I feel like this one is economic in a sense because the goods that you try to get in, they have a price, etc. All the money involved. It's a stretch.
It definitely is. I think this is another game that involves money and is not necessarily economic. But hey, yeah, very
it's a
well.
Stretch. I see. Yeah,
but that's a fine game.
you need to pay money to the sheriff to get your goods in. It's the theme. If you think about the theme itself, it's about different merchants. I would say that I went with the feel. The theme about this one is different merchants are trying to get their goods in through the sheriff. So need to give a little bit of a cut to the sheriff himself so they can expand their expand their whatever they are. They didn't have the companies, but whatever the glory.
Yeah. Well, we won't. Hey, at least we won't talk about Through the Ages anymore.
Yeah. That's my Through the Ages here. Kind of.
Well, I thought that was
does it
Vault Wars, but
oh, World Wars is economic.
Okay.
No, it's economic. Okay, this one doesn't say economic at least. Okay. Anyway, let's get to number 6. We're gonna get better. We're gonna get better. You'll see. You'll see. All right. What's your stretch?
All right. This one's not a stretch. Thematically, it's very economic. In fact, it probably finds its way onto your list at some point. The game is all about the purchasing and selling of stocks, and the game is called Stockpile. A very economic theme, and even though the economic mechanisms aren't the most exciting part of the game, it's just all about acquiring things and then waiting for the right moment to sell them to try and maximize your profit. The theme of a stock market certainly is economic. I don't know that you can get much more economic than that. And although there's not some sort of a sophisticated supply and demand component of this game, and you're not, buying different companies and spending different amounts of money like you would in Panamax or an 18xx game, it's definitely a strong economic theme, and the mechanisms back that up. And it's also a lot of fun, and it's pretty light and easy to get into. So my number 6, Stockpile.
Yeah, I would argue, but I will not.
I don't think you will.
We'll see about that.
Yeah, well, I think we probably will.
We'll see. Anyway, my number 6 is a game of anti-economy. I would say on BGG it says it's an economic game, and it is an economic game. It just, you have to think in a different direction, regarding this one. It's the Prodigal's Club. And Prodigal's Club is an economic game because what you want to do in this one, you do all sorts of different stuff. You have worker placement, the hand management, and collection, but it all evolves around you having the least amount of money. You are trying to spend a ton of money. So you have the least amount of money, and so you win the game. And the theme is also like that. So there's the rich uncle that says, if you need my money, if you want my money, you have to show me how you can spend it, whatever the theme was there. But it all evolves around money, money, money. So I feel like Prodigal's Club, and it's a nice, cool, different theme for an economic game. It's like you're trying to get rid of the money, and you're constantly getting it more and more and more. And different cards help you out with different actions and bonuses. And then the worker placement is really nice. I like that. I don't think you should mix it with. I haven't played Last Will, but when I took a look at that, I don't think you should mix this one with Last Will because it becomes too much of a game. But definitely take a look at this game. It has some interesting mechanisms and a different way of thinking.
Yeah, and I'm the exact opposite. I have only played Last Will and have not played this one. But I don't know. I mean, I could see maybe putting Last Will on the list. So if this one is, from what I understand, almost exactly the same, just a little bit different. So
this one is. I have played Prodigal's Club. I haven't played Last Will, but maybe Last Will would be a better fit for this list because Last Will is about losing money. This one is about also losing. You're trying to lose a lot of money, but there's also reputation and other stuff. Like it's combining different things, but it's all about the economy, so you can get rich in the end by getting your uncle's testament, whatever. So, yeah.
All right.
Let's go to number 5. All right. What's your number 5?
Right. My number 5. So this is a game, again, when I was thinking about it, I was not quite sure if it was economic, but when I really thought about it, it really is, because what you're doing is trying to build up something that will allow you to, you're trying to use your resources and build up sort of an economic generation engine. The game is also a cute theme. It is Everdell.
Okay.
And I had to think twice about it, but that's really all you're doing, right? You're gaining resources and you're saying, okay, I want to do this. And so I need to figure out a way to get some resources to do that. And if I build these cards, they're going to generate resources for me at various points in the game. And you're not buying and selling with money, but you're using, I don't know, berries and amber tokens. And so it's not as much of a stretch as some other games we've had, but it's a little tiny bit of one.
No,
but
I would say
definitely.
It made me feel about that I can talk about Through the Ages again, because it's Everdell is not an economic game at all, in my opinion. It's a worker placement, resource management, tableau building game, but none of the economy. Because
there's definitely an economy in there.
What makes you buy and sell? What makes you spend money? Like,
you're not spending the money; you're spending the resources.
Yeah, but that's the resource management, and every game has resource management. Thus, every game is an economic game.
And that's why I went to that definition, which said the term is often used interchangeably with resource management games.
No, I would say it's not an economic game at all. No, that's a really huge stretch.
I think it's a small stretch.
My World Wars is more economic than this one, and Sheriff of Nottingham is more economic than this one.
Well, Sheriff of Nottingham is not more economic than this one.
Okay, we can put them on the same level. Let's say, okay. But no, it's not economic.
It's definitely, it has some nice economic feels. And if you look it up, I bet you'll see an economic tag.
It's not here. It's not economic game. No.
Look under the full credits.
Nope. Nowhere.
Hmm.
It's not.
I think it is. Well,
I just looked at
I
it.
can't see because it's too small, but all right. Well, it's still economic, even if it doesn't say so.
It's not.
Let's hear about. I don't think I have any more stretches on my list.
Yeah, we'll see.
Anyway, go ahead.
My number 5 is an economic game because this designer is just doing that kind of stuff in his designs, and that's Brass Birmingham. And I would say you would agree that it's an economic game, though this one also evolves around let's say resource management, but route building, etc. But you are expanding your business, and that's where it comes from. There's money involved, there's loans involved. I mean, like, there's loans involved. You have to take a loan to survive in this money in this game.
Usually 2 or 3.
Yeah, you have to take loans, but like, it's about how you manage your loans. That this what's this game about. And of course, you're expanding your network, expanding your industry, etc. The theme is very economic, and the feel is very economic. It's a heavy Euro. It's not like it has a ton of rules, but it's extremely smart game in my opinion. And this is the game that is high on my list here, number 5. It's high because I rate it highly, but I said it's one time that it's not the game that I will ever play again. Yeah, I appreciate the design. I liked it. I gave it an 8. But I don't want to get back to this because this game is a simulation, kinda, not exactly, but it's work. It feels extremely economic because it's work. You do work, you expand your networks and do things, and it's just too much for me. It made my brain melt in a way that I don't want to feel,
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, don't take my words for granted, because this game is definitely an amazing game. Just not for me, but it might be for those people who love economy, love tight resource management, building, expanding, very crunchy approach. Yeah, I would say.
Sure. Yeah, I like the other Brass better, the original one, but I'll agree that it's definitely an economic game. It will not appear on my list just because I don't know that I like it that much, but but I can definitely see the economic aspect.
Yeah, for me, it's a homage to the game that I very much enjoyed, but will never play again because I don't want to. That's a weird thing. But yeah, let's get to number 4. All right.
Okay. I don't think I have any more stretches. I don't think you'll disagree heartily with any of the remaining games on my list, mostly because I don't think you've played any of them.
I'm kidding.
So the next one is clearly an economic game. It's also a gorgeous game with beautiful artwork and great components. The game is Food Chain Magnet.
Okay.
And this game is all about the economics of running a fast food chain. It's about trying to get as much money as possible, but it's also about trying to arrange supply and demand so that people want only what you are able to sell. And it's about undercutting people's business and setting up your restaurants in such a way that they're nearby houses, because of course customers are going to come to closer places before they'll go to farther away ones. And you want to create a product and market it in such a way that it's all that people want. The theme is actually pretty strong in the game. It definitely feels like it's working like it should. It's a very unforgiving game. It's a long game, and it could have perhaps done with a second edition with a graphical overhaul, but but it's definitely a very economic game, and people who really like tight economic cutthroat competition will really get a lot of enjoyment out of it. I happen to be in that camp, so I really enjoy the game also. But there we go.
Yeah, just disclaimer for those who are watching this one. This picture is not a prototype picture. That's how the
Nope.
game looks. Just to be sure, it's not a prototype.
Yeah,
Just-
it definitely could do with a slight overhaul on some of the graphic design elements.
I would say it would definitely do a not slight, but I would say it needs to be completely put on fire and then redesigned.
I will say that everything is functional, and that board is not very busy, right? You know, it's roads and empty spaces.
Yeah, it's made in paint. I see. Yes, I could do.
It's
the
not
same.
gorgeous, but it is economic.
Okay, whoever the artist was for this board got a lot of money. Anyway, okay, but yeah, it's economic game. My number 4 is a game that's about farming, but it's an economic game because what you want to do, you want to get a ton of money, and that's Happy Pigs. And
that's
Happy
an
Pigs,
economic game.
that's an economic game. Yes, it's also kind of a farming game, as I said, but to be honest, it's. I mean, you do farming here, and it's simultaneous action selection kind of a game where you have a central card showing that a particular action is as strong, let's say 10 strong or 9 strong, and then you, with your tiles, you choose what action you want to get, what action you want to use, and then if multiple people use the same action, then you have to divide those points between each other, the action points. And if you go there alone, it's all yours. And it's about outguessing your opponents. But the central piece is that you are raising those pigs, and if you get the different promos, you can raise sheep,
Penguins,
and ducks, yeah, and penguins, etc. And you are vaccinating them, and whatever you are growing them, and then you're selling them to the better lands. I don't know. Let's stay happy on this list. But yeah,
okay.
it's about getting a ton of money. Here you can get a score of like $200, whatever the money is, 200 money currency, 300, etc. So it was a ton of money. That's why I think it's an economic game more than a farming game.
Oh, definitely. In fact, there's really no farming other than the fact that you're storing pigs.
You're feeding them, you're vaccinating them. You kind of feel like you're expanding your farm. There is that. There is that. And different
Definitely
seasons.
more of an economic than a farming game.
Yeah. But yeah, Happy Pigs, my number 4.
Okay.
You played this one.
Oh, yeah, I like the game.
Okay, let's go to number 3. Okay.
All right. My number 3, in a world where you play games like Tawantinsuyu, you might need to play this one someday. It's not by the same designer or anything, but it's, you know, you're sort of shocking me with some of your choices lately. This is a fine economic game, a really fun one. It's not the best looking, but it's not terrible. And it's the game is Clans of Caledonia.
Okay,
And
I am possessed, but not that much. Yeah.
What you're doing in this game is you're using your money, and you're trying, and that's sort of what fuels your ability to do things in the game. Money isn't really worth the points. The points comes from various goods that you're able to import and from contracts you're fulfilling. But there's a market where you can buy things and you can sell them, and you can't do the sort of buy and sell the same good in the same turn. But sometimes you can, and you're trying to manipulate that, and you're trying to focus on trying to get the goods that you're going to need, both for your contracts and for ways to generate more money, which is in turn more actions. There's the buying and selling, but there's also production, right? You can put out cows and they'll produce milk. And then if you have a cheese factory, you can choose the milk, turn the milk into cheese, which you're then able to convert into the contracts later. And then the contracts might get you cotton, and by manipulating where cotton is on a track of how much it's been imported, that could be worth more points if you happen to have more. There's definitely a lot of economic mechanisms going on in here. And there's not really a theme other than that. I mean, you're buying and selling goods in Scotland.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic game. It's really fun to play. It's very easy to get into. The rules are not complicated, and it gives you a nice economic feel without some of the overhead that, for example, Food Chain Magnet has.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go.
Yeah, I played this one.
And you can't even argue because you've not played it.
Yeah. I've just realized that I should have done a better job on my list, because I just remembered one or two games that are also quite economic. One of them is less economic. It's they are not on my list. The Rockwell has the same kind of approach to that, and the second one is Brew Crafters. I played about the beer company, growing beer company, and now I realized, oh my god, Brew Crafters should have been on my list, because this is an economic game. Yeah, but you never remember everything. You can skip a few things. So it's my number 11 then, Brew Crafters. But let's get to my number 3. And my number 3 is, I feel like, an economic game, because I feel like pick up and deliver a game is an economic game in a sense. And I'm talking about Kings of Air and Steam. You can argue that it's not,
Okay.
but it revolves around buying goods and then transporting them to another city and then selling them, and it involves the stock market, which is a part of the economic games, in my opinion. So,
Okay.
but yeah, in this one, you have your airships that you upgrade as well. It involves a lot of money. You're spending money constantly to upgrade, and you are constantly getting money. Whoever has the most money at the end of the game is the winner. That's how it is. It is an economic approach to the game, the end game as well. It has kind of a cool, not very, like, it's a linen finish kind of a type of paper money, like a little bit of glossy type finish.
Yep.
Money. That's cool. I like that. And you're transporting goods through the airships and railway, and expanding your depots everywhere. And it is a pick up and deliver with a different kind of theme, not your usual trains. That's what I like about this game.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'll give you it. It has some economic aspects. It's not that much of a stretch.
But it's an economic game, to be honest.
Sure. Okay.
It doesn't say so here, but I don't know. It says trains in this one, so it has it okay.
And the trains are hardly there.
It's a category, so I feel like, yeah, the BGG is not. When you want to, BGG is not accurate with quite a few things. So it's a huge database, but it's not an accurate database. There are games that say they are like that, but they are totally not. Aviation Flight. It's.
I would say that, so the database is not, I won't say that it's inaccurate. It's just not comprehensive or complete or definitive.
Yeah. All right. But let's get to number 2.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So my number 2 is another game I don't think you've played. And the economic aspects of it are a little bit more subtle, but it definitely is what the game is. And the game is all about buying and trading goods in areas usually around the Mediterranean Sea. And that game is Concordia. So
Okay.
artwork wise, it's not the best. But really, what you're trying to do is so the actual way the game works is you're trying to make combinations of cards that are going to get you points for different things. But what you do to do that is you go to the market, you buy some things, you sell some things, you try and place yourselves in different areas so that you're able to produce more goods. You try to build up your trading infrastructure so that you can get to more areas, so that you can place more places faster, so that you don't have to spend as much, so that you can then at various times in the game produce more things so that you can sell more things at the market, and you kind of see how this is going. There's definitely a strong economic sense about the game, and it's also a lot of fun. It's very easy to get into. It is not nearly as dry as it looks, and although it looks pretty dry, it's a very interesting game. That game looks really very well populated. And there's some things in that version that I don't know that I've seen. Oh, as much as must be upgraded pieces. Anyway,
Custom things, yeah.
yeah. Anyway, this is a great game, and it has strong economic components to it.
Okay. Yeah, I have not played this one. When I looked at this one, it didn't feel like it's an economic game. It's more like a resource management and expanding game, but it's in the same veins as maybe Brass or something like that as well, where expanding your influence is kind of expanding your economy because you want to be a best trader, whatever. But it's
Right.
it's a theme. It's a feel. I can see
Yeah.
that.
And the theme isn't really very strong in this game. There's not really none there. So.
Mike Kurtz, I think he made the game called is it by the let's say by the year released? Didn't he
You
make
thinking of the ship game?
the Transatlantic? Yeah,
Yeah. Transatlantic is a re-implementation of Concordia.
yeah. It's another designer I was thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Anyway.
my number two is in my opinion an economic game, and you can argue because it's an engine building game. In this one, you can try to argue, but I feel like the whole aspect, the whole feel, and the theme of the game is economic, and that's homesteaders. And in homesteaders, yeah, the economic part. First of all, I think this is an older version. Whatever, it doesn't matter. First of all, in homesteaders, you are spending money. You're bidding on those different kind of lands contracts that you can get, so you can build buildings. And when you build buildings, they are worth points. Okay, you get the most points, and then the one of the central things of this game is getting those trading chits, so you can trade stuff, which is economic in my opinion. You're expanding your town, you are buying new contracts to expand even more, you're trading different resources, and you are taking a loan, you are paying your workers. So there's salary as well, kind of like you have to pay your workers. You don't have to feed them, but you pay them. So it totally feels as an economic game for me. I take it as an engine building game, an expanding game, like a building game as well. But I feel like there is a strong economy going on there as well, especially with the markets being a central piece of the game. It's how well you can manage to trade resources back and forth, and etc. So, Homesteaders, my number two.
I'll say this is as strong a pick as some of mine have been. So there we go. I haven't actually played the game very recently, so I don't remember it very well. But
at least it says economic here. But I mean,
Well, there we go.
city building games are. If I didn't put one of the games. Suburbia is not one of my favorite games, but Castles of Magic Ludwig for me also has a strong economic aspect to it. But Castles of Magic Ludwig for me wasn't the central thing. The most fun part is about connecting the rooms and getting the most points, which is not economic. So, but still,
Okay.
city building, castle building, whatever they are usually economic games. Suburbia is an economic game, definitely.
Suburbia is more so than castles.
Yeah,
But
that's why I didn't put it. Yeah.
mhm. All right.
All right. Let's get to. I didn't get a lot of flag about this one. Yeah, because it
No,
can
I
be.
just don't remember it very well. Is why I don't really have a comment on it. I played it with you many years ago, and I haven't played it again since. Not because I didn't enjoy it, I just haven't felt
Are you
like
playing
it.
with me?
So
I don't remember
yeah,
it playing with you. Where?
yeah, it was in Estonia.
Okay, maybe. Yeah, you should try it again with the expansion. So
Yeah, I will someday. I just never it never seems to come up. So
when I will come, then we will do that. All right, let's get to number one. All right, Kyle, what's your number one?
all right. So my number one, this game is purely economic. There are other aspects to it, but they're just to fuel the economy. And in the game, basically everything, if you can't use something to fuel your own economy or improve yourself, you shouldn't do it. The game is Le Havre.
Okay.
And this is a game, sure, you are gaining resources and using them to build things. But why are you doing that? Because you need that as a piece of your economy. You are borrowing money. Hey, it has loans, so we know it's economic by your definition. And you probably have to take them. I mean, I've seen some people not, but I always take like 10 of them, almost like brass. You are trying to build things and convert things into other things, upgrade your resources to make them worth more, sell things at a shipping lane, build and buy boats so that you can have money, I guess, food to feed your people, build an economic structure that other people are going to want to use so that you can get things from them so that you don't have to use your own resources to pay for things. You're really just everything you're doing in this is about building up your own economy. It is a very rough game for your first time, right? If you play with somebody who's played it before, you're probably going to lose by a lot. But but it's just so very interesting how everything works. Yeah, there's a little worker placement, right? You have one worker. There's a little bit of other aspects, but the core is very strong economics. And it's also a great game that's a lot of fun to play.
Yeah, I've heard about this one as an economic game. It's not the one I played, but yeah, I can agree because I've heard of this one as an economic game.
Okay.
All right, my number one is 100% an
I'm
economic.
sitting. I'm sitting down.
Yeah,
I'm ready to be shocked.
It's it's an economic game through and through, and there is nothing else. I think like all the elements are just money. It's money in the game, and that's stockpile. It is.
What?
Oh my god. Yeah, but yeah, what I do like about this game is that it manages to create the cool moments in this game, moments of anticipation, and then a failure like, oh, the stock went down instead of up, and then you bluffed, etc. But it's all about just like a little bit of that gambling going on. I always like to bid on the cards that are face down more than that are face up. Because I like to see what's beneath those cards. It's usually more taxes, and I always get caught
Usually.
in that. I always get caught in that trap. But no, sometimes though, I play differently. Sometimes they put really good cards faced, and I'm like, I win this, and they're like, wow, and I got this for like 6 money, and I got like 20 money worth. And in this one, you have to think about economy because how much you spend on something and how much it will be worth, so you can get back all that money, and how you can grow money from those cards even more. And yeah, it's just manipulating the stocks, which is manipulating the money, manipulating the prices, and a lot of fun of outguessing, outsmarting, and random elements as well. But you can kind of deduce, or like a deduction element where, oh, so it means like if I have +4, then I know that this company will not go +4, which means it will not split this round. But maybe I can bluff it the way that they think it will split, so they can buy it or whatever. Knowing the partial information in games, and everybody knows some kind of information about an overall event going on, I think it's one of the best mechanics out there, because
Sure.
it makes you interact, it makes you guess a ton. Yeah, Stockpile, my number one.
I mean, it was on my list, so I certainly won't disagree with you.
That one was, I put it down like number one. That's Stockpile. That's it.
And I kind of thought you would. I figured. Anyway, no, it's a great game,
Yeah.
and definitely has some strong economic elements.
Yeah. So when I was thinking about this list again, I was like, it was really hard. Like, I couldn't remember a few games. I skipped 2 games. Like I said, Brewcrafters is totally an economic game, because you are basically expanding your beer company, which is economy. It's like Smartphone Inc. the same way. One of the games that I was thinking about debating in my head is Scythe, because in Scythe you are trying to get the most money. It is the most money wins the game. Money is points. I was debating because for me, why I didn't put it in my list, because Scythe is an adventure game. It has so many things going on in there. The end game is whoever has the most prosperous country or whatever they have,
Right.
nation with the most money. It is like the most money is the winner of the game, but it doesn't feel economic. It feels like many things going on.
Scythe doesn't feel economic to me at all. I saw that it was on the list of economic games, and that was one that I was like, that sure doesn't feel economic.
I can see people think about this one as an economic game, because I didn't put them on it because this was like it's towards 4X games, and I didn't touch any of the 4X games, and you put the Through the Ages on the list. But that's where I see, like, this one is a civilization game. It has many aspects. It's not. I tried to go with where I feel like economy is the central piece of the game. It's overwhelming other ones. Of course, yeah. It's we do the strictures as well. What else? What else did you wanted to put as an economic game?
So I was thinking about Dinosaur Island.
Okay.
I was thinking about, because Lords of Vegas is kind of a near economic game, and
it is.
the other one that I had on my short list was Rococo.
Okay.
Which is the dressmaking game. Yeah, it's you're managing your staff to make dresses, and money is not your points in the game, but it's what you need to do everything. And there's some resource collection and management, but I don't know. So those were the 3 that kind of at various iterations of the list were on there. So I don't know. It's a harder topic just because it's very undefined.
Yeah, there was one game called 1920. Yeah, it's one of these this Spanish company who does the small games. I was thinking about that one.
Yeah, that one works. I just didn't like the game very much.
Maybe Carson City. I don't know. I just didn't feel like
I
it's
could see
completely economic. But maybe, yeah. I don't know what else. It's hard. It's hard because if you think about some games, they are kind of economic, but kind of not. What is economic? What is farming? What is expanding? What is building? I don't know.
Right.
Oh, one of the games which is an economy game is it just not wouldn't get to my list. It's High Society, I think. Is that small card game?
Oh yeah, I know that
Management,
game.
yeah.
That game's just an auction game.
Yeah, but I mean, like this auctions is part of economy. I feel like this where resource management and economy, I can see the differences, kind of, but with auctions and bidding and economy, it's all the same for me. I kind of differentiate them because auction bidding games are economy games. You are managing money. That's the main thing. What you're doing in there. Don't you agree?
I agree that that is a game that involves money, but I didn't find there to be much of a consumption or production aspect with that money. It's more just spending. High society are just bidding on stuff and trying to buy the best stuff and not spend the most.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Whoever has the most money left will win the game.
I would say QE is an economic game, even though but that also has an economic theme.
Interesting. I
Anyway.
haven't played QE. Oh, I remember just one last game. I remember Ponzi Scheme.
Okay, yeah, that one I would give you.
This is completely economic. It's about you
Ponzi
trying to
schemes?
survive. Yeah, Ponzi Scheme. You're trying to survive. You will eventually go bankrupt anyway, but you are trying to survive the best by taking more money and not giving it back. Okay, so anyway, that's it for today's show.
It is
37. What's the next topic that we have?
The next topic is games that are best with the maximum number of players.
Oh yes, it is. And after that, we have the cooperative games. So it's something to look forward to.
That theme is pretty well defined. We might disagree about the games, but at least we won't disagree about whether about what
good.
the meaning is.
yeah. Maximum number of players. Yeah, but it might be.
Just so you know, I'm not going to put any 2-player games on that list.
Yeah, I think we shouldn't. But anyway, folks, thank you for watching. We're gonna see you in. Oh, there's a phone already. We're gonna see you in another episode in about 2 weeks, I would say. Yep.
I thought it was exactly 2 weeks, but okay. All right.
In about 2 weeks, because it's less than exactly 2 weeks, because it's we're gonna do it at 2 p.m. in my time, 7 p.m. So it's already less than 2 weeks exactly.
I see.
In our just too much. Okay.
Although we might still be talking 2 weeks from today. All right.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Yes.